Today was Ethan Reed and Madeline Thorne's second wedding anniversary. Ethan had spent 3 months preparing for this night. He'd hand-carved a delicate crystalline fairy as a gift and spent the afternoon preparing a multi-course dinner, featuring the gourmet soup Madeline once claimed she could drink every day for the rest of her life. He had reheated the food 3 times already. By 10 o'clock, Madeline still wasn't home, but Ethan finally saw her on someone else's Instagram story. In the photo, Madeline looked flushed, clearly a few drinks in, her arm looped intimately through the arm of the man sitting next to her as they laughed. In 2 years of marriage, Ethan had never seen her smile with such genuine radiance. She hasn't taken her meds yet. Ethan sighed. He grabbed his coat, tucked Madeline's prescription antidepressants into his pocket, and headed out. It was snowing in San Francisco. It took him less than 10 minutes to reach the upscale hotel restaurant they frequented. As Ethan reached for the handle of the private dining room, he heard the roar of a crowd inside, chanting for a kiss. A server approached with a decanted bottle of red wine and looked at Ethan with confusion. "Mr. Reed, aren't you going in?" Ethan stiffened, shook his head slightly, and began to pull his hand away. "Ms. Thorne is right inside. Let me get that for you," the server said. Before Ethan could stop him, the door was swung open. Inside, Madeline was locked in a wedding toast-style drink with the man beside her, their arms entwined, their eyes misty and lingering on one another. Ethan's sudden appearance acted like a vacuum, sucking the noise right out of the room. Madeline froze. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" She quickly untangled her arm from the man's, her expression shifting into something deeply uncomfortable. "Ethan, don't get the wrong idea. Everyone was just joking around. Julian just got back to the States today, so we're having a little reunion with our old college friends." Ethan nodded slowly. Before he could speak, a man at the table stood up and looked at Ethan with open disdain. "Madeline, you don't owe him an explanation. Everyone knows you and Julian grew up together. He's your soulmate. This useless guy doesn't even belong in the same room as you." "Yeah," another girl chimed in. "We all know Julian was the one who got away. You only married Ethan because your father forced your hand." "Our Maddie is the CEO of the Thorne Group," a third person added. "And you're just a trophy husband living off her paycheck. If I were you, I'd stop wasting her life and just—" "Everyone, that's enough," Julian Sterling said, shaking his head with a practiced, gentle smile. He stood up and walked toward Ethan, extending a hand. "Ethan, it's good to meet you. Maddie and I grew up together. It's been nearly 3 years since we last saw each other. I just landed today, so I hope there are no hard feelings." Julian was the picture of poise, but his eyes were sharp with provocation. Ethan didn't even look at the hand. He walked past Julian straight to Madeline. He pulled the bottle of pills from his pocket, set them in her hand, and forced a small smile. "Remember to take your medicine." Then, he turned to leave. "Ethan," Madeline called out. His reaction wasn't what she expected. She thought he'd be furious, that he'd cause a scene. His calmness was unsettling. Ethan looked back at her and said only 3 words, "Come home early." As he reached the door, another man blocked his path. "You're incredibly rude. Julian tried to shake your hand, and that's your attitude? Do you have any idea who he is? Julian is back to take over the Sterling Group. You were just a delivery driver before you married Madeline. If you weren't her husband on paper, you wouldn't be fit to breathe the same air as him." "And who are you?" "Sorry, I don't recognize you," Ethan said flatly. He stepped around the man and walked out. The server watched him go with a strange look. She knew the couple well, as they always booked this specific room. "Forget him. Let's keep going. Cheers." The atmosphere behind him surged back to life. Ethan let out a bitter laugh. The sound of their joy felt like a drumbeat against his ribcage, shaking his very soul. In the heavy snow, Ethan walked with his head down, letting the white flakes coat his hair. Back there, Madeline hadn't said a single word in his defense. Was she afraid of hurting her first love? Or was Ethan truly that insignificant to her? In truth, their marriage was born from a legal document. 3 years ago, Ethan had been a grad student at Stanford. He'd nearly died in a hit-and-run while working a delivery shift to pay for school. With no money for surgery, he was left to die in a county hospital. That was where he met Arthur Thorne, the billionaire patriarch of the Thorne Group, who was there seeking treatment for his daughter's clinical depression. Arthur had Ethan investigated. He liked what he saw. He offered a deal. Arthur would pay for the life-saving surgeries. And in exchange, Ethan had to woo and marry Madeline within 3 months, staying married for at least 2 years until her depression stabilized. To the world, Madeline Thorne was a goddess, beautiful, wealthy, the ultimate girl. But her downward spiral had been caused by one person, Julian Sterling. Julian was the illegitimate son of a tech mogul, treated worse than a servant at home. Madeline had been his only protector. 3 years ago, he broke up with her and disappeared abroad to finish his degree under mysterious circumstances. Madeline crashed. Then Ethan appeared, pursuing her with a devotion that bordered on madness. With Arthur's help, they married. In the 2 years since, Ethan had taken perfect care of her. They had been happy, or so he thought. Her depression hadn't flared up in a year. Until today, until the one who got away came home. Is it time to leave? Ethan asked himself. He wanted to be sure, but his heart wouldn't let go. When love becomes a habit, it's hard to cut it out of your system. His phone buzzed. Madeline, is she calling to explain? Ethan pulled out his phone, but the flicker of hope died instantly when he saw the caller ID. Mr. Reed, the 2 years are up. Please, you have to come back. I can't manage the firm on my own anymore. I'll think about it. My CEO, please have mercy. I'm operating at 500% capacity. I'm running on fumes. Have a little heart for your partner. You don't even have to. Ethan hung up before the voice could finish. Shortly after marrying Madeline, Ethan had founded Astria's Capital. With his sharp instincts and ruthless efficiency, he had turned it into one of the top 10 investment firms in the world within a single year. He had told no one, not even Madeline. The world knew Astria's was a juggernaut, but no one had ever seen the face of its mysterious founder. His identity was considered one of the industry's greatest secrets. Of course, Astria's wasn't just Ethan. There was Clara Vance, the woman who had fought beside him from day one. Clara loved him, everyone knew it, but Ethan only had eyes for Madeline. He had been willing to trade his golden armor for a domestic apron. He told Clara it was to repay a debt, but Clara knew it was love. Furthermore, the reason the Thorn Group had thrived under Madeline's leadership was because Astria's Capital was secretly pulling strings in the background. No one knew that, either. Madeline didn't come home that night. Ethan didn't sleep. By dawn, his heart felt like ice. His Instagram feed updated. It was another photo of Madeline and Julian. The caption read, "Our gorgeous CEO Ms. Thorn's gift to Julian, one of the top 10 watches in the world. Worth $20 million. So jealous." Ethan knew the post was meant for him. They wanted him to feel small, to feel like dust. He turned off his phone and started making breakfast. The front door opened. Madeline was home. "Ethan, I'm sorry. We went to a bar after dinner." "Okay." Ethan didn't say anything else. Madeline changed her clothes and placed a watch box in front of him. She wrapped her arms around his waist from behind. "Ethan, there's really nothing between me and Julian. We just haven't seen each other in years. Look, I brought you a gift." She opened the box and held out a watch. "Try it on. See if you like it. If not, I'll buy you a different style." "Let me put it on for you," she whispered. Ethan pulled back. "Let's eat first." Madeline blinked, then smiled. "Okay." It was then she noticed the unlit candles and the wine on the dining table. It hit her all at once. "I'm so sorry, Ethan. I forgot it was our anniversary. Tell you what, I won't go into the office today. I'll spend the whole day with you." "No need. Go do what you have to do." "No, I mean it. I am staying." "Then let's go see your parents. We haven't visited them in a while." "Sure, whatever you want." Madeline leaned in and kissed his cheek. As she moved, the collar of her shirt shifted. Ethan saw it, a dark, unmistakable hickey on her neck. His heart seized. His body gave an involuntary shudder. Madeline realized what had happened and stiffened. She stood up abruptly, pulling her collar tight with a forced, casual air. Madeline wasn't sure if Ethan had seen it. The air in the room turned heavy and strange. She didn't know if she should explain. She had drunk too much last night. She and Julian had nearly crossed the line, but at the last second, her reason had won out over her desire. She felt a sudden wave of guilt. For 2 years, Ethan had been perfect to her, but that was all it was, guilt. In her heart, Julian was the only one she truly loved. She had never stopped missing him. Ethan had simply been the placeholder, the man who performed the actions of love to fill the void Julian left behind. She knew Ethan loved her more than anyone else in the world, but that love had been given so freely, so easily, that she had begun to take it for granted. Her phone rang. The screen flashed Julian. Madeline glanced at Ethan. Seeing he wasn't looking, she declined the call. "Something came up at the office. I need to go upstairs and handle it. We'll leave for my parents' place in a bit." She hurried upstairs. Ethan put down his fork and picked up the watch she had given him. It was a nice watch, a $7,000 piece. His heart felt heavy. $20 million for him. $7,000 for me. That's my value to her. Not even a fraction of what he's worth. A few minutes later, Madeline came down. She had redone her makeup and changed into a completely different outfit. "Ethan, I'm so sorry. There's an emergency at work. I have to go deal with it. Wait for my call, and then go ahead," Ethan said. You're the best. Madeline tried to kiss him again, but Ethan pretended to be busy clearing the dishes and stepped out of reach. She gave an awkward laugh and rushed out the door. Ethan walked to the window. He watched her walk out of the building and head straight for a black Rolls-Royce idling at the curb. In front of the car stood Julian, looking pristine in a white suit. He gave Madeline a hug, his eyes never leaving the window where Ethan stood. It was a look of pure triumph. Ethan pulled the curtains shut. He sat on the sofa, staring at their wedding photo on the opposite wall. Surprisingly, he felt calm. After a long time, he stood up, walked to the photo, and pulled 2 sheets of paper from behind the frame. It was the contract he had signed with Madeline's father. Once, he had dreamed that he would never have to look at these papers again. Now, he had no choice. Time to go. I should leave this space for a first love. It was always just a transaction. Now that the time is up, it's over. Ethan didn't hate Madeline. The whole thing had been a lie from the start. Even his love for her, though real to him, was technically built on the foundation of a contract. He was a body double. Now that the real leading man was back, the role was no longer his. Ethan cleaned the house. He packed a small suitcase with his documents and a few clothes. He wanted nothing else. Sir, you gave me the day off yesterday, so you could surprise Mrs. Thorne. How was the anniversary? The housekeeper, Mrs. Higgins, came upstairs and smiled warmly at him. It was fine, Ethan said with a strained smile. Are you going somewhere? Yes. I'll be away for a few days. If you're heading north, make sure to pack a heavy coat. I can help you find one. It's okay, Mrs. Higgins. I can handle it. You go ahead and get started in the kitchen. Of course, sir. Mrs. Higgins went downstairs to clear the remnants of the candlelit dinner, humming to herself. Such a lovely couple, she muttered. Ethan finished packing. Before he could leave, Arthur Thorne called. He wanted Ethan to come to the family estate immediately. Ethan tucked the contract in his bag. I suppose I should see him one last time, to settle everything. For the past few years, Arthur had been wonderful to him, treating him like a real son. Ethan had a deep, genuine respect for the man who had saved his life. But when Ethan arrived at the Thorne estate, he froze. Arthur and Eleanor were in the living room, but so were Madeline and Julian. Julian was in bad shape, curled on the floor, blood at the corner of his mouth. 4 or 5 Thorne Group security guards stood over him. Madeline looked just as distraught, a red handprint blooming on her cheek. As Ethan entered, Eleanor rushed over to him, her eyes red with tears. Ethan, I am so sorry. Madeline has failed you. But don't worry, they won't see each other again. You and Madeline will make it work. Her father, and I won't let that man bother you anymore. Ethan shook his head, but before he could speak, Arthur beckoned him over. Ethan, come here. Let me talk to you. Ethan walked over. Arthur took his hand, his face full of shame. Ethan, you are a good son-in-law. We've seen how well you've treated Madeline these past 2 years. She's just lost her mind for a moment. Don't let it get to you. In our hearts, you are our son. Everything the Thorne Group owns will be yours one day. Damn, Mom. I believe in Madeline, Ethan said quietly. Arthur sighed. As a veteran of the business world, he could see the look in Ethan's eyes. He turned to Madeline, his face darkening. You ungrateful girl. Look what you've done. How could you do this to Ethan? Madeline shook her head, looking at Ethan with pure disappointment. That look stung Ethan. He tried to explain that he wasn't the one who told her parents, but she didn't give him a chance. She lunged forward and slapped him across the face. You told them. I told you nothing happened with Julian. How could you do this to me? I'm so disgusted by you, Ethan Reed. Stop it. Arthur roared, shaking with rage. You would hit Ethan for that piece of trash? Fine. Guards, keep going. Beat that bastard until he's half dead and throw him in the bay for all I care. The guards didn't hesitate. They resumed the beating. As Julian screamed, Madeline went hysterical, throwing herself over Julian to shield him with her own body. The guards stopped, afraid to hit their boss's daughter. The scene nearly gave Arthur a heart attack. Ethan Reed, I hate you. Madeline screamed, her eyes burning with loathing. Ethan's heart broke. Images of the last 2 years flashed through his mind. Dad, let it go, Ethan said. He walked over to Madeline and Julian and looked down at them. Even if you hate me, I have to say it. It wasn't me. Whatever. Ethan, I want a divorce. Ethan didn't answer. He looked at Arthur and Eleanor. Ethan, I'm so sorry, Eleanor sobbed. We'll talk to her. Don't do anything rash. It's okay, Mom. I'm going home now. Ethan didn't have the heart to mention the contract. At least not in front of Madeline. Ethan, wait. We'll make this right. Make what right? He doesn't deserve an explanation. Madeline pointed at Ethan, her face contorted. Arthur went ballistic. Get out. Your mother, and I no longer have a daughter. I'm stripping you of your position at the company. You're too blind to lead anything. I wish I'd never had you. I'm your flesh and blood. You're choosing a stranger over your own daughter? Are you even my parents? Madeline screamed. You only have him as a son-in-law. Because of me. He's an outsider. Madeline helped Julian up, wiping the blood from his face. Let's go, Julian. As they limped out, the guard stood frozen, looking at Arthur. Let them go. Let them rot. Don't ever let them back in. Arthur collapsed onto the sofa, drained. Madeline and Julian left. Eleanor held Arthur's hand, weeping. We failed that boy. Do you think they can ever fix this? She's blinded by that boy. She'll regret this. Where else is she going to find someone as good as Ethan? That slap had severed the last thread of Ethan's lingering attachment. The pain in his heart was far worse than the sting on his cheek. Ethan went back to the house and grabbed his suitcase. He took one last look at every room. So many memories. He knew it would take years to forget this place. The love was gone. He didn't want to blame her. Once, he had been her entire world, and he had filled that world with flowers. But in the end, he wasn't the one she wanted to walk through the garden with. From now on, he would go back to his own world and start over, even if nothing beautiful ever grew there again. Goodbye, Madeline. Goodbye, memories. Ethan walked out. Mrs. Higgins waved from the porch. Safe travels, sir. Come back soon. Ethan turned and gave her a warm, sad smile. He didn't go to Astria's capital. He flew out of the country, to a place where the air smelled of salt and wine. Ethan Reed vanished. It was as if he had evaporated from the face of the earth. At the Thorne estate, Arthur received a package. Inside were 2 sheets of paper. The contract. The old couple's hands trembled. They knew then that it was truly over between Ethan and Madeline. Ethan had fulfilled his final promise. He was a good man. At Ethan's house, Madeline stayed by Julian's side in the hospital for 10 days. After he was discharged, their friends threw a massive party for him. Everyone spent the night trashing Ethan's name. Madeline listened, but for the first time, she felt a strange sense of panic. She hadn't seen Ethan in over a week. He hadn't called once. The man who used to nag her about eating and taking her pills was suddenly gone. The disruption of her routine made her skin crawl. She turned down the after-party and went home. On the way, she stopped to buy a box of the mango-flavored candies Ethan always carried. He used to say that when life got bitter, a little sugar made the heart feel sweet again. Madeline wanted to see him, to have a talk. As long as he didn't try to stop her from being friends with Julian and stopped running to her parents to tattle, she was willing to forgive him. When she got home, only Mrs. Higgins was there. The housekeeper told her Ethan had gone away and left something for her. Madeline asked how long he'd been gone. 10 days, Mrs. Higgins said. She had tried calling him, but he didn't answer. She assumed he was on a business trip. 10 days. Madeline's heart sank. She ran upstairs. Their bedroom door was locked. She got the key from Mrs. Higgins and threw it open. The room was spotless. Everything seemed in place, but on her vanity sat every gift she had ever given Ethan over the last 2 years. A cold dread pooled in her stomach. She yanked open Ethan's closet. A few things were missing, but most of his clothes were still there. Okay, most of his stuff is here. He's just on a trip, Madeline whispered to herself, clutching her chest. She grabbed her phone and called him. Busy signal. Then a recording. The number you have dialed is not in service. She tried again and again. Nothing. She threw the phone onto the bed in a rage. Ethan Reed, you wait. I am not forgiving you this time. You live under my roof, you spend my money, and you have the nerve to throw a tantrum? So I have a male friend. So what? She stamped her foot, and that was when she saw the piece of paper on the nightstand. She picked it up. As she read the words, her face turned to stone. It was a signed divorce decree. The terms were simple. Ethan wanted nothing. No alimony. No assets. He only wanted her signature. I haven't even brought it up, and you dare to ask for a divorce? You want to play games? Fine. Madeline ripped the papers into shreds and stormed out. She went straight to Julian. She was fuming. You want to act out, Ethan? Fine. I'll give you something to be mad about. Another week passed. Still no word from Ethan. Madeline was starting to lose it. Even the expensive cocktails at the club tasted like ash. She couldn't focus at work. Her mind kept drifting back to him. Her friends noticed the change. Julian was trying his best to be perfect, attentive, sweet, doing everything Ethan used to do. But to Madeline's surprise, it was starting to irritate her. Maddie, what's wrong? I heard Ethan left the country. Good riddance, honestly. At least he realized he didn't belong here. He's finally getting out of the way for you and Julian. Yeah, another friend said. You should just sign the papers and marry Julian already. You guys are a power couple. We're all waiting for the wedding. Maddie, Julian loves kids, doesn't he? Why don't you guys have a baby first, then wait for the loser to crawl back and finalize the divorce? Everyone was pushing her. Suddenly, Madeline snapped. Will you all just shut up? He's my husband. I'll handle it. It's none of your business. The room went silent. They didn't understand. Usually, when they talked about her and Julian, she was all smiles. Why was she biting their heads off today? Julian took her hand. Maddie, don't listen to them. I don't need anything. I just want to be with you. As long as I'm in your heart, that's enough. Madeline pulled her hand away. Julian, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. It's not right. Not to Ethan. Julian's face fell. He reached for her hand again, but she stepped back. I don't feel well. I'm going home. The house felt cavernous and empty. Several times, she started to call out Ethan, only to stop herself as the silence reminded her he wasn't there. 20 days had passed. Madeline couldn't take it anymore. She got blackout drunk, hoping his face would stop haunting her. She stopped wearing makeup. She stopped caring. She called his dead number over and over, whispering into the void. Ethan, please pick up. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She tracked down every one of Ethan's old college friends. No one knew anything. It finally hit her. She was losing him, truly losing him. She went to her parents. They have to know where he is. She practically crashed her car into the Thorn driveway. Inside, she fell to her knees before her father. Dad, Mom, I was wrong. Please, just tell me where Ethan is. I have to find him. Arthur shook his head. He pointed to the door. Get out. We don't have a daughter who treats people like this. Dad, please. I promise I won't see Julian anymore. I'll apologize to Ethan. I'll do whatever it takes. He loves me so much, he'll forgive me. He always does. Arthur's eyes softened with pity, but his voice was cold. You don't deserve to speak his name. It's over. We know Ethan. You broke him too badly. He's never coming back. No. If I say I'm sorry, he'll listen. He always does whatever I want. He can't hurt me. Arthur sighed. You're young. You have a future. Just let him go. I won't. Madeline screamed, hysterical. Eleanor's heart broke. She helped Madeline up, crying with her. Madeline, everyone makes mistakes. You're my daughter, and I love you, but you need to understand. Ethan was the best thing that ever happened to this family. He didn't owe us anything. We owed him. You've always been stubborn, Madeline. You never listened to anyone. Did you know Ethan was deathly allergic to strawberries? He carried those strawberry candies for 2 years because you liked them. He put his life at risk every day just to have them ready for you. And when you first took over the company and blew those contracts, it was Ethan who went behind your back and begged investors to stay so the board wouldn't fire you. And the scar on his chest? Do you even remember where that came from? During your first year of treatment, you had a breakdown and attacked him with a kitchen knife. You almost killed him. He never told a soul. Eleanor was sobbing now. Madeline felt like her chest was being ripped open. Stop it, Mom. Please, just tell me where he is. And your precious Julian? Do you know why he really left 3 years ago? He didn't go to study. He ran off with a rich older woman who promised to pay his way. He traded you for a ticket out. You were the only one who didn't know. Mom, stop. Madeline covered her ears and screamed. Phoenix. Eleanor handed her the contract. Madeline read every word. The truth crushed her. It was all a deal. He didn't have to be that good to me. He didn't owe me a thing. I was the one who owed him everything. This came in a mail from overseas, Eleanor said, handing her a shipping envelope. It has a return address. Go. Find him. I only hope for his sake he doesn't let you in. The address was for a small town in New Zealand. Madeline knew that town. It was where they'd spent their honeymoon. It was a beautiful, quiet place. Madeline had joked back then about buying a plot of land there to grow grapes and make the best wine in the world. I'm going to find him. Madeline booked the first flight out. On the plane, she scrolled through their old photos, wishing she could fly faster. Mousey, New Zealand, was a remote village famous for its vineyards. Madeline landed and didn't stop to rest. She spent the first day retracing their honeymoon steps. He wasn't at the hotel. He wasn't at the old winery. She went to the local police. They had no record of an Ethan Reed. They told her he might be traveling under a different name, or perhaps he'd changed it legally. Madeline searched for 2 weeks. She was exhausted, her clothes dusty, her face pale. She saw almost no other Asian faces in this remote part of the country. Ethan, where are you? She whispered to the sky. She felt a bone-deep loneliness she'd never known. She'd had a diamond in her hand and traded it for a rock. Finally, she wandered into a tiny, chic cafe. She sat by the window, staring out at the rolling hills. The owner was an elegant woman, an expat from the States. She brought over a coffee and chatted. You know, the woman mentioned casually, about a month ago, a wealthy American guy bought that old historic estate on the hill. He's been planting sunflowers and grapes like crazy. It's becoming a bit of a local landmark. Madeline froze. She grabbed the woman's hand. Where is it? The woman pointed the way. Madeline didn't even grab her bag. She just ran. Wait, your purse. Madeline didn't hear her. She ran for nearly 40 minutes until she saw the gates of the estate. In the vineyard, two people were working, a man and a woman. The woman was beautiful, with an air of sophisticated grace. The man was dressed in simple work clothes, but his presence was unmistakable. It was Ethan. Madeline started to cry. She tried to call his name, but her throat was too tight. Ethan, who is that woman? Is she your new love? No, we aren't divorced yet. You're still mine. She started toward the gate, but was suddenly grabbed by the arm. She turned to find Julian. What are you doing here? Julian tried to pull her into a hug. Maddie, come back with me. We belong together. I'll make everything right, I promise. Let go of me. Madeline shoved him away, her voice cold as ice. I have nothing to do with you. The only person I love is Ethan. Julian's face twisted. Maddie, you loved me for years. I only left to make a better life for us. I did it for our future. Ethan was just a phase. I'm your destiny. Madeline laughed. It was a hollow, jagged sound. Julian, you make me sick. I know why you left. I know who you left with. I only hate myself for being blind enough to believe your lies. Julian panicked. He realized his cover was blown, but he couldn't let go of his meal ticket. Maddie, she was just a stepping stone. I had to use her to get high enough to stand beside you. Get away from me. Madeline pushed him aside and ran to the estate gate. By the time she got there, the heavy iron gates were locked. Ethan was gone. Only the beautiful woman stood inside. Madeline gripped the bars, her heart hammering against her ribs. She screamed at the woman. Where is he? Where's Ethan? I need to see him. The woman brushed the dirt from her gloves and shook her head. Ms. Thorne, stop. He doesn't want to see you. Please go home. No, I'm his wife. He has to see me. Who are you? Were you to him? The woman sighed. Who I am doesn't matter. What matters is that it's over. Wouldn't it be better for everyone if you both just moved on? It was then that Madeline really looked at her. Her eyes widened. She recognized her. She'd seen her once before. Clara Vance, the COO of Astria's Capital, one of the most powerful women in global finance. Why was she here, dressed like a farmhand? What was her connection to Ethan? Clara saw the realization on her face and gave a small, sad smile. Ethan and I are together now. I'm staying here with him. Forever. That's impossible. Why would someone like you be with a guy like Ethan? And we aren't divorced. You can't be married. Clara tucked a stray hair behind her ear. We've settled things here. I'd give up 1,000 companies for him. To me, Astrius is nothing compared to him. You're crazy. You're throwing away your career. Clara shook her head. I used to envy you, Madeline. You had his love without even trying. I watched you throw away for 2 years what I would have died for. You were so reckless with him because you thought he was a permanent fixture. You were wrong. Go home. He won't see you. Clara turned and walked away. Ethan, Madeline screamed, her hands white as she gripped the iron. Ethan, why didn't I see how amazing you were? Even Clara Vance would give up everything for you. I was so wrong. Please, just give me one more chance. Madeline stayed at that gate for 3 days. She didn't eat. She didn't drink. She just waited. Inside the estate, Clara stood by the window, watching Ethan as he stared through the curtains at the slumped figure of Madeline at the gate. It's been 3 days, Ethan, Clara whispered. Go talk to her. She's going to kill herself at this rate. Ethan didn't speak. Go. I know you. Your heart is hurting worse than hers right now. Just say what needs to be said. Don't let her die on your doorstep. Ethan finally turned and walked out. The iron gates groaned open. Madeline looked like a ghost of herself. When she saw Ethan, a tiny flicker of life returned to her eyes. She lunged forward and threw her arms around him, sobbing. Ethan stood perfectly still. He didn't hug her back. After a long time, Madeline looked up at him. Ethan, I'm so sorry. Please, don't leave me. Then she collapsed. When she woke up, she was in a hospital bed. White walls, the smell of antiseptic. Clara was sitting by her bed. She handed Madeline an envelope. He left this for you. Then Clara walked out. Madeline opened the letter with trembling hands. Madeline, your father saved my life. I signed that contract to pay a debt. I'm sorry our marriage started as a lie, but I won't deny that I truly fell in love with you. I wanted to protect you with everything I had, but I realized too late that I was only ever a shadow of Julian to you. You didn't love me. You loved the person you wanted me to be. You were addicted to the habit of me, not the reality of me. I don't love you anymore. Love doesn't work that way. You can't break it and expect it to function the same way once it's glued back together. It wouldn't be fair to either of us. Go home, keep the good memories, and let the rest go. At the bottom of the letter, there was one last line. I wanted to give you one last candy, but I couldn't find the mango ones you like here. Take a sweet when you get home. It'll make your heart feel better. Take care of yourself." Madeline wept until there were no tears left. "Ethan, I'm so sorry." 3 years later, a bombshell hit the upper echelons of society. The mysterious CEO of Astria's capital, one of the 10 most powerful people in the world, was finally going to make a public appearance. And he had a massive announcement. Every major player in the country was invited. The Thorn Group was on the list. This was the opportunity of a lifetime. To know the face of Astrias was to have a golden ticket to the future. The 5-star hotel ballroom was packed. Security was high-tech and tight. The street outside was a graveyard of Ferraris and Rolls-Royces. 10 a.m. The presentation began. Huge screens flickered to life. The most powerful moguls in the city sat like schoolboys, waiting for their teacher. The room was silent. Everyone speculated. Was it a prince from an old European family? A tech genius from Silicon Valley? Madeline was in the crowd. Usually, a company of her size would be relegated to the back, but her seat was in the very front row. Her parents were right beside her. "Dad, Mom, did you know? Do you know who the Astria CEO is?" Arthur didn't say anything. Eleanor smiled sadly. "Stop worrying about other people. How was that date last night? Anyone you liked?" Madeline shook her head. "No, no one compares to him." Eleanor just sighed. Finally, the host announced, "Please welcome the chairman and CEO of Astria's capital." A man stepped out from the wings. He was wearing a custom Italian black suit, walking with a grace and power that commanded the room. He was devastatingly handsome, radiant with success. "Ethan." The room was silent, save for Madeline, who stood up instinctively, her eyes filling with tears as she stared at the man on stage. Ethan Reed looked at her and gave a small, polite nod. "He's the CEO of Astrias." Everything clicked. The Thorn Group's success, the anonymous investors, the secret help. It was all him. He wasn't a useless trophy husband. He was a legend, a man who had built an empire while he was making her soup. She realized then what she had truly lost. She remembered all the times people had insulted him to his face while she stood by and said nothing. "I never deserved him." She didn't hear a word of his speech. She just watched him through a blur of tears. When the speech ended, the room erupted in applause. "I have one more announcement," Ethan said, his voice smooth and steady. "I'm getting married. Please welcome my bride, Clara Vance." Clara stepped out in a stunning white gown, looking like a dream. The room rose in a standing ovation. As Ethan and Clara embraced, Madeline gripped her mother's hand so hard her knuckles turned white. She bit her lip until it bled. That man on stage should have been hers. That life should have been theirs. But she had burned it down with her own hands. Finally, the couple invited the parents on stage for a traditional toast. Ethan had no parents of his own, so he invited Arthur and Eleanor Thorne. He and Clara toasted them as Mom and Dad, and the old couple wept with joy. "Madeline, come up here," Clara called out, waving her over. Madeline froze, wiped her eyes, and walked onto the stage. She walked up to Ethan and gave him a long, final hug. "Congratulations." "Ethan," she whispered.